All right, everybody. With that being said, what is going on? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned into a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. This is your host, Clifton Pope. And before we get into this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, I got to give a special shout out to one of my sponsors, goandfeelgreat.com, to where we can continue to feel great from the long haul and not only combat insulin resistance, but put it into insulin resistance due to the company Unicity. And there are two amazing game-changing products that help promote intermittent fasting, which is most important, the Unicity Unimate and the Unicity Balance, both which you can find on goandfeelgreat.com, where you can feel great for the long haul. But with that being said, with this particular person I'm about to bring on to the podcast, I'll be completely honest. When it comes to people who I bring on to the HFWB podcast series, they inspire me and enlighten me so much to where not only I want to learn from them, but at the same time, all the people who listen to every single episode of the HFWB podcast series can learn from as well. And the person who I'm about to bring on, she's definitely well established, and it goes a long way as far as how established as she currently is. She is a educational consultant. She's an adjunct professor. She's a Christian counselor. She's a minister. One second here. Yes, the person who I'm about to bring on to the HFWB podcast series, she's definitely well established in her own right. I mean, first off, she has a PhD in curriculum and instruction, urban education from Texas A&M University, a master's in schools counseling and marriage and family therapy from Prairie View A&M University. Did I mention she has a Christian counseling certification? And at the same time, all this to become, on top of being an educational consultant, adjunct professor, Christian counselor, minister, author, motivational speaker, and she'll be very proud of me mentioning this. She's also part of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. To add to that, please welcome the lovely Miss Dr. Lisa Hubbard to the HFWB podcast series. And oh, by the way, she's also the owner and brand ambassador of Brighter Future Counseling and Consulting, which we're going to get into as well. But before we get into that, Lisa, how are you doing on this Motivational Monday?
I'm doing well, Clifton. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you for making time out of your busy schedule to, of course, make this happen. I know we've been going back and forth a little bit about making this happen, but we are finally making this happen at the right moment and right time. And what a better way to start off the summer as well. But for overall, Lisa, for everybody who's wondering who you are as an individual and what drew you not only into teaching, because a lot of people don't notice you used to be a teacher before you transitioned into being a counselor. But in all, I feel like what both of those things have in common, it comes down to just educating people about themselves and helping people find themselves within that. What drew you as far as your overall passion to not only teaching, but transition into counseling on top of that?
So I started out, I really wanted to be a nurse. And when I started college, I didn't do well in my first science class. And I said, that's probably not going to work out. Let me just try something different. But I was really trying to avoid education because my mother was an assistant superintendent. She was the first Black assistant superintendent at West Oso ISD in the Corpus Christi area. And so I was not going to do education, but God had other plans. So I said, well, let me get in this education thing. I think I can pass those classes. That's really why I got into education. but as you know, once you are doing what God has purposed you to do, I enjoyed it. I started out teaching kindergarten at Crosley Elementary in Corpus Christi.
Right.
So I have I just have a love for that. And I'm sad that that they tore the building down, but, I have great memories there as my first teaching assignment. And so working with the kids at Crosley, and then I worked with the kids at another elementary in Corpus. Then I moved to Brenham, Texas, and worked with some young kids. I just realized that I was spending a lot of time trying to help them with their day-to-day life and help them with things that were going on in their home. And so I felt like going into counseling, I could focus solely on that instead of also having to, teach them as well as counsel them. So that became my passion.
Wow. That's funny how you mentioned that you were originally planning on trying to be a nurse, Lisa, because a fun fact about me, my mom is actually a nurse. She started becoming a nurse. She became a nurse like when she was 31 years old. She kind of started late, and she started off like doing, of course, delivery, like labor delivery. Then she transitioned into dialysis, and now she currently works for the VA, to where she's one of the VA regional managers. She used to work at the VA clinic right down the street here on Old Brownsville Road and Bear Lane. But now she transitioned to working from home when COVID happened and everything. And she's been doing that to this very day. So it's funny how you mentioned you really wanted to be a nurse, but as you alluded to, Lisa, God had other plans and thought, you need to be here in the education world because we need more people like you to educate people. And it's crazy because it's like it went from that teaching to counseling, and then all of a sudden now you're becoming a brand ambassador and now having your own counseling and consulting services. So for the people listening to the HFWB podcast series and who are wondering what is Brighter Future Consulting and Counseling Services, how would you best describe that to the people listening?
So I would best describe Brighter Futures Counseling and Consulting as it's just a place where you can come so that you can walk in the purpose that God has for you. I love helping people and giving people just hope for a brighter future by building self-esteem, self-awareness. All of those things are important, and helping you to just believe in yourself more than anybody believes in you. Because if you believe in yourself, you can achieve anything in the world.
You can. I agree.
So, and I started Brighter Futures Counseling and Consulting right after I retired. I retired after 28 years of service and education. I retired in 2018, and I was thinking about starting the business, but I just, I was dragging my feet. I really didn't know what to do. I wasn't very business minded. I was like, how am I going to start a business? And during the pandemic in 2020, God said, start it now. And so I tell people this all the time. I had to do it afraid.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just jumped out there. I went to the county courthouse and got a DBA, and I started my business in 2020, and I was doing virtual counseling. And my business has just grown from there. God has just blessed it because I started it, and it's still not where I want it, but that doesn't matter because God is still in it, and it's thriving every day. So I'm just grateful and thankful.
No, it's wonderful. And it's like, it was something about the pandemic that just allowed us to kind of like wake up and be like, hey, we got to start whatever it is that we're passionate about and what we love doing now before it's too late. Because that's another thing right there we have in common, Lisa, like right in the pandemic, because prior to me doing personal training, I used to be a pharmacy technician for 4 years at Walgreens. Okay. And when I saw the conventional medicine side of things, like healing people and understanding how big pharma operates, something triggered within me to where it was like, whatever happened to natural living? Why can't we go back to herbal remedies and all the stuff that our ancestors used to grow up with back in like the times of the Indians, dating all the way back to even the 1800s, 1900s, within that history before it's lost forever? So that's literally the core of what everything that I'm currently doing right now with my own business, health, fitness, wealth business, which is crazy. It's like the pandemic kind of definitely shifted everybody's gear as far as especially entrepreneurs and business owners, to where it's like, it's now time to establish what the new wave is going to be. And we need to create a healing revolution within ourselves. And it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. You're definitely onto something, Lisa, for sure, as far as incorporating, most importantly, the word of God into your business. And at the same time, just telling people, hey, that there's always hope, because it's a foundation for the bright future as long as you have the word of God as far as within your overall message as well. Is there like a particular client, for instance, Lisa, that comes to mind based on what you do currently within your business, to where it's like you impact them so much to where it like solidified within yourself, hey, this is what Brighter Future Counseling and Consulting is all about? Is there a particular client that you could think of off the top of your head, Lisa, that comes to your mind?
Yes, I would say, the client that I am most, just I want to help them the most are my African American males, young males, that are in, school age, pre-K through 12,
I love it.
because I did my dissertation on single mothers raising successful African American males. Because when you look at the research and you look at the news, they're always saying that African American males are failing and they're falling behind. There's always a negative narrative. And so I worked in a school district that was predominantly white for a long time, and I saw
Mm,
how African American males were mistreated. They were
right.
disproportionately placed in special education.
Yeah.
They had the most suspensions. They were always in, DMC. So I said, what can I do to help them? Because they have so much potential, but
Yeah.
lots of teachers and educators don't know how to tap into it. So I really focus on African American males and helping their parents to understand and how to navigate the school system to best advocate for their sons. But I just really teach African American males how valuable they are and how much they bring to the table. I help them to see their greatness and how they
Mm,
can, they really, I believe that African American males can run the world.
they can.
We had Barack Obama. That was kind of the, you can see that's the example that,
Yeah.
lots of Black men should aspire to be. They can be
Oh,
that
yeah.
great. You can be that great. But I also love helping women, especially single mothers, because I was a single mother for raising my children from the age they were 7 and 10, my girls. I help single mothers to see that with you can do it with God. You have to trust God to get you through those times. It seems impossible sometimes, and you have to have a village. So
Hmm.
I help single mothers to see that it's doable. It's hard. Sometimes you might cry, you may not have money, but with God, God can get you through it, and you get a village and you can raise successful children. Both of my daughters are, college, they both have college educations. They both work in education, and they coach and they teach. And I'm just so proud of them, but I know that, I couldn't have done it without God.
It's like I always like to say this every single time, Lisa. It starts with God, it ends with God. Everything else is between. Simple, straightforward, right to the point, then and there. And it's funny how you touch on the importance of like mentoring African American males, because honestly, that's something that what they need more of, and you could probably attest to this way more than I can, Lisa. They need mentorship, they need guidance, they need like a positive influence and a positive role model in their life to where they were able to overcome their own obstacles, stand the test of time within their own trials and tribulations, and at the same time find opportunities within all the difficulties that they faced within the course of their life as well. So it's funny how you touched on that particularly, and at the same time you touched on, of course, you be growing up as a single mother, and of course speaking to all the single mothers out there, because when you put together a single mother who's trying to raise a young African American male, that just spells a challenge within itself. And it's like,
Yes.
is either side willing to accept the challenge to where they can rise above it, and then where they can elevate themselves to where they can be the best versions of themselves really at the end of the day? And it kind of talks about kind of what your book is about, which for the people who don't know, Dr. Lisa Hubbard is also an author, like I alluded to, and she has a book on Amazon called Mentoring Strategies for African American Males. Single Mothers Tell Their Stories. Of course, Dr. Lisa Hubbard wrote it along with a partner of hers, Mr. Chance Lewis, and they kind of put together that concept to where they can share the story of not only single mothers on how, and also at the same time provide mentoring strategies, of course, for African American males. The title literally explains it within itself. So, what made you come up with the concept of putting together this book and kind of describe like the purpose and the message that you want people to receive out of reading this book?
Okay, so the way I came up with the book really stemmed from the research that I did when I was writing my dissertation for my PhD. And
Right.
so once I completed my PhD, I collaborated with my mentor and my dissertation co-chair, Dr. Chance Lewis, and we wrote the
Okay.
book together. And the purpose really is to really get schools and communities to partner together to mentor African American males, just like you were saying. They need someone to look up to. They need teachers in schools. They need the community, the church. They need everybody. When you put all those people together for the common goal of helping African American males to be successful in schools and in the community, then that's the purpose of this book. And it gives strategies. One of the main strategies it talks about is using racial socialization, which is helping African American males to give them messages of
Mm,
self-worth and
mm,
empowerment so that they
right.
know they can make it even when they hear the negative messages that may come from some of their teachers or may come from principals and people in the schools.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they may be hearing lots of negative messages, and using racial socialization helps them not to internalize those negative messages, but to remember that they can achieve anything that they put their mind to.
Hmm. I love it. It just ties into kind of like the self-care aspect of things, because one of the favorite books I like to read, or that I recommend everybody read if I had 10 books, one of them will be The Miracle Morning by Al Harad. And he talks about the importance of establishing like a savers method, which is silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and writing. And one thing that you touched on that I was thinking about as you were explaining like the negative messages and everything is like you combat negative messages with positive affirmations. So it's a
Yes.
matter of just putting together like a positive affirmation, like, for instance, I'm worthy because I exist. I'm worthy of love, and I'm worthy of being able to give and receive love and manifest that into something beautiful. Stuff like that, just to kind of like elevate every single African American male who is currently struggling with, of course, just trying to find themselves more than anything. And it's like, I love that you're what you're doing as far as just implying that, and at the same time educating people to where it's not too late to, of course, change themselves for the better. And it's like, for anyone who is listening to this HFWB podcast series episode in particular, who is struggling to try to overcome those negative experiences, just to try to see the light, I guess you could say, at the end of the dark tunnel that they may be lost in currently, what would you tell them as far as like words of encouragement, words of advice, so to speak, Lisa?
So, one of the things that I really promote in my counseling services, especially to my African American males, and I have a African American male as young as 5 years old, and
Okay.
the thing I promote mostly is self affirmations. I ask everyone that I counsel, I say, put your self affirmations on your mirror in the bathroom so that every morning when you get up, you can affirm yourself. And I tell them, whatever you may feel like you're struggling with today, if you're feeling like, man, I don't think I'm going to get all my work done today, you can write an affirmation that says, I will complete all of my work today. I can do it. Just believing
Mhm.
in yourself and encouraging yourself every morning, I believe, is the key. And I just believe that actually working, like going to the Word of God every morning. Get a
Mhm.
scripture in your heart, especially ones that say you can do all things through Christ. That
Yep.
is, if you tell yourself that every day, you'll believe it and you'll be able to see it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love that. And that kind of just feeds into just like the importance of just the education world within itself. And I feel like I've noticed that in the past few years or so, that if you pay attention, they've been trying to strip away the word of God out of the school system and the education system for some weird apparent reason that bothers me, that I have a few theories on, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Based on where I'm going with this, Lisa, is that based on your overall experience with the education system, being involved in education for so many years, where do you feel like, as far as your future forecasts, say a couple years down the road, where do you see the state of education going forward based on what you've been through?
So it's really sad because I believe that since they have taken God out of the schools and continue to try to keep taking God out, I believe that's why we've had so many issues with schools. There are a lot of failing school districts, school shootings. All of these things are because we're not inviting God in first to cover and keep the kids and keep the schools. So
Yeah,
I think if we don't, get back to at least, allowing people to have the choice to be able to pray in schools, giving people that
exactly.
option if that's what they want to
Yes.
do. I'm not saying that they need to force it on anybody, but
Yeah,
if
yeah,
people want to pray and they want to bring God, they need to start letting them do that. So if they don't,
exactly.
I just don't know that, I just don't know that things will get better. I see things, kind of there's a downward trend because we don't have the even the teachers, the character and the teachers that are working in schools now. That's
Mm.
starting to be an issue because I feel like, God is so far removed that anybody can come work in the school.
Yeah. Man, it's crazy. I feel like the moment that God was starting to get taken out of schools, the school shootings have just increased tremendously. I feel like that's exactly what it is, because we're not praying for God to protect our schools and to protect our children. Because last time I checked, Lisa, and you could agree with this as well, children are the future, and the
They
future
are.
is not looking really good, especially with children not only lacking education, but most importantly, lacking the faith of God more than anything. And I feel like I feel like schools, all classrooms, and to add to everything that you're saying, they should dedicate like the first, even if it's just 5 minutes of just having a moment of silence, giving the kids that option to where if they want to pray to God, they want to meditate to God, they want to visualize and have moments of silence, just practicing their breathing and just positive affirmations. I feel like that would be maybe the first step in the right direction towards,
Yes,
getting
I
back on
agree.
track. But
Yeah.
hopefully we can establish something like that going forward into the future. That's for sure, because it's needed more than ever, just for the sake of just saving our future, because it's looking very, very dark.
I I agree.
That's just what I see with my own two eyes. And I mean, we got to do something about it, but I believe we will, one day at a time, one step at a time. But overall, Lisa, we're actually transitioning to the point of the podcast where I'm going to ask you a list of questions that I usually ask everybody who comes onto my podcast. And the
Okay.
first question is simple: what is the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
Every day that I wake up, I really do this. I just thank God for letting me have another day, letting me
Mhm.
see another day, another chance to get it right and to just glorify him and walk in the purpose that he has for me. I don't take that lightly. I tell people this, and a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I say, if I wake up if I just wake up, if God allows me to wake up, I am ecstatic. I am going to have a great day. And
Mm,
God doesn't have to do anything else in my day. If he wakes me
mm,
up, that's enough.
I love it. I also heard, to add to that, it's like if you wake up to see another day, you already won, because you already got a brand new, fresh start to where you can improve yourself from the day before to continue to just be the best version of yourself that you can be every single day. And I love that tremendously. My next question for you, Lisa. I always like to say health is wealth. They're kind of like sides of the coin. You can't have one without the other. What is your personal definition, Lisa, of health and wealth to you? All righty, we are back. And I was actually going to ask you, Lisa, as far as my next question, in regards to the saying health is wealth, right? They're kind of like two sides of the coin. You can't have one without the other. In your own personal definition, Lisa, what does health and wealth mean to yourself?
So health and wealth to me, it means that when you are living out your purpose and just trying to be the best person that you can be mentally, physically, spiritually, that will promote good health. And when you have good health, when you have good mental health, physical health, spiritual health, you definitely are wealthy. That's what it takes to be wealthy. Just being the best person that you can be in all areas of life, working on your physical, because if you don't have your physical, you're not going to be healthy. But also your mental state of mind. I believe that your mental state is, one of the most important things to keep you physically and spiritually healthy. Is you
Mhm.
have to, the mind is the devil's workshop if you allow it to be. So
Mhm.
you have to always keep your mind stayed on God. That way you can be healthy and wealthy.
I love that. And it kind of just ties everything together to a certain degree as well. And I always like to tell people this all the time, Lisa. You got to train your mind that way your body can follow suit. Hence strengthening the mind body connection and sprinkling it in with the spirit of God that's within every single human being in this world. It's like sky's the limit for there more than anything. And I love the fact that you touched on this earlier, Lisa, as far as like the importance of like it takes a village to build a community, so to speak, because that actually tied into one of the questions I was about to ask you. What does community mean to you, as far as like your own definition, so to speak?
I think community to me is like family. Community is working together for a common goal, and community can be friends, family. It can be just co-workers. Community is anybody working together for a
Mhm.
common goal to help the world to be a better place. That's community. Community is just coming together.
I love it. And I always like to add to that, I always like to say unity in the community. We're better off together, united, as we could stand strong versus being divided to where we can easily fall apart and all that stuff. And that's a good way to put it as well. But we're going to transition into a little segment I like to call either or, to where I'll basically ask you which would you pick out of either two choices I give you. My first one is this: what would you choose out of loyalty or respect?
I think that I would choose respect because I feel like this. If you respect me, you'll be loyal to me.
Well said, and I couldn't agree anymore. Would you rather live in space or in the ocean?
Hmm. I think I'd rather live in the ocean. I think it's something about water that reminds it to me. It's just serenity. There's
Mm.
peace. There's peace in the water. I think that's where I'd love to be.
And another thing that most people don't realize, as far as the element of water, Lisa, is that it establishes a strong sense of communication, which helps form beautiful relationships if done consistently, without a doubt. So I can see where you're going with that for sure.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich?
Um, I would rather be famous and poor
Would you rather
because
have? Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
believe that it's, I just believe this. I believe when you're loving God's people, you're rich.
Yeah, that's very true, and most people forget about that too at times. That's a very good point. Would you rather have unlimited free meals at your favorite restaurant or unlimited first class tickets?
Hmm. I would say unlimited first class tickets.
Would you rather dance to every song or sing to every song?
Oh, that's a hard one. I can't decide between dancing and singing. I love them both, but I would probably say dance.
Now, picture this scenario, Lisa. You're trapped on an island, right? But you have the option to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter what genre it is, it can be their whole entire catalog of music. Who would those five music artists be?
So I think those five artists would be Yolanda Adams would be one.
Okay.
And then the next one would be probably Usher. And the next one would be Chris Brown. The
Mm,
next one would be Luther Vandross.
mm.
And the last one would probably be, um, I guess I would say probably Fred Hammond.
That is a very versatile playlist that will definitely draw any party to that island and get you off of that island in no time, hypothetically speaking. I love it. What is your favorite go to meal, Lisa?
Go to meal.
Yes.
I would say my favorite go to meal is Mexican food. I'm from Corpus Christi, so born and raised with Mexican food.
What is your favorite Mexican dish?
I would say my favorite Mexican dish is enchiladas.
Can't go wrong with enchiladas. I love it. And as you
No.
said, hey, being born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas, your whole life, you tend to get attached to it at some point, whether you want to or not. So
Exactly.
it's it's,
Exactly.
it's funny how that transpires every time I think about it. I swear. Now, where's like the favorite place from a traveling standpoint that you have traveled to so far, Lisa? And where's a place you would like to travel to that you have never been before?
Okay, so I think my favorite place that I've traveled is Hawaii. I went to Hawaii a couple of summers ago with a group of my best girlfriends, and it was just the most amazing, peaceful time that I've ever experienced. And then
Wow.
the place that I'd like to go is I really would like to go to Aruba.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just want to experience, just that's. I feel like that's such a fun experience that's different from going some of the other places that you go.
Right. There's nothing wrong with going somewhere different and having like that different experience to where it brings like a different sense of peace within yourself. And there's nothing wrong
Exactly.
with that at all. I could see that. I really can. Now I know, Lisa, that you have your hands full in many, many things. You're constantly busy, whether if it's not within your business world, personal life, all those things. Whenever you're not doing all of those things and whenever you have some downtime, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
So, one of my favorite hobbies to do really is like I love just going to sporting events. I love watching sports and going to sports, even participating in sports. Sometimes that's just fun. I can't do what I used to do, but I love sporting events. I love dancing. I love dancing. So I dance all by myself.
If you don't mind me asking, Lisa, what is your favorite sport and who is your favorite sports team?
So my favorite sport, of course, in case people don't know, is basketball. I was a basketball superstar in Corpus Christi. I graduated from King High School, played varsity all 3 years, and then went on to
Okay.
college and played in college. So basketball is my favorite sport. And I would say
Mine
in
too.
the past, my favorite basketball person was Magic Johnson. I just loved the way I loved his smile and his personality on the court, on and off the court.
That's not
And then if
that's
I had to say now, I really think it would be LeBron James. And I know a lot of people can't stand LeBron. Oh, he's a crybaby and all that. But I'm looking at the whole person. And outside of basketball, LeBron is, doing great things, helping children
yeah.
and helping his own children, even though he didn't have he didn't come from a lot. So I appreciate that.
That's I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, I'm definitely basketball has always been my favorite sport, and I don't know if you can notice from behind me, Lisa. I actually have a poster right over here behind me, and behind that poster, or on that poster rather, is my favorite basketball player, the late great Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
So it's like
Yes.
just most people don't realize. I mean, again, LeBron's not a bad choice. I love LeBron James too, but for me personally, I feel like Kobe Bryant to me was like the example of like just being the best version of yourself that you can be and working as hard as you possibly can to get to that point. And it's like his message alone, I feel like anybody could learn from, but at the same time, anybody could also learn from LeBron's message as far as doing it the right way as well. It's like either way, in my personal top three basketball players in no particular order, you could flip flop Kobe, LeBron, and Michael Jordan any day of the week. That's just me personally, but again, I love Magic Johnson too. That's probably my dad's favorite basketball player. Or was one of my dad's favorite basketball players, if I'm not mistaken. So I could see that. All righty.
Yeah, actually, Magic Johnson was my mom's favorite basketball player. So that's kind of why, he came to mind. And I remember how much she loved him. And I was having a hard time between Kobe and LeBron. So I love Kobe too.
It all works out too. It all works out. They're all great in their own way, and they've all made their contributions to the game of basketball in a very special way, without a doubt. My last question for you, Lisa, as we wrap everything up, is quite interesting. If you had the opportunity to go back in time, right, and talk to yourself, say 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself? And at the same time, based on your current journey, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
So if I could talk to myself 10 years ago, I think I would have just told myself to believe in the goal and the dream that I had, and to step out on faith sooner. I think
Mm-hmm.
I drug my feet for a long time about starting a counseling business. I knew that it was something I needed to do, and I started out going to get a license to be a licensed professional counselor, but I didn't pass the test the first time. So I just kind of gave up on that thought and gave up on that idea. And if I could go back 10 years, I would have said, just do it afraid. And I would have started then, because I think it was necessary way back then, even though it's necessary now. And where I see myself in 10 years is I really just see myself being a lot more successful as an educational consulting, speaking on big stages all over the world and internationally.
I love it. And this is actually the time where if you want people to like where they can get in touch with you, where they can follow you as far as social media platforms, websites and all, because a lot of people don't know this, but you're actually getting ready to do a speaking event very soon, I saw. So here's the time to tell the people about that, Lisa.
Okay, so you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on TikTok, I'm on X, I'm also on LinkedIn, and they're all under Lisa Henderson Hubbard, or one of them is under Dr. Lisa Henderson Hubbard. I think that's my Facebook, my Instagram page is Dr. Lisa Henderson Hubbard, And you can find me at brighterfuturecc.com. That is my website. Or you can email me at brighterfuturecc at gmail.com. And I am getting ready to do a speaking engagement real soon. I love empowering women. And so I love hooking up with other women that are doing great things. And we have a speaking engagement coming up. Hopefully on June 23rd. We may have to move it around a little bit. We're looking at ticket sales and trying to get the biggest bang for our buck. So we may be moving that date around a little bit. But yes, thank you so much for having me today.
I love it. And if we can learn anything from this particular episode of the HFWB podcast series, we just got to cash in on our opportunities and just give all glory to God and walk with God in each step, one step at a time, one day at a time. And we can do anything. If I can do it, if Dr. Lisa Hubbard can do it, so can you. Lisa, thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I'm completely honored.
You're welcome. And again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Without a doubt. And with that being said, this is yours truly, Clifton Pope, the host of the HFWB podcast series, encouraging everybody to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed like always. And until next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations.